What's up, Church by the Glades? Welcome to a series of conversations entitled Fearless. It's based on something in the Bible that's so powerful. I love what it says in 2 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 17. It's on the screen right now at every single campus. No, give me, there you go, guys. Read the one word. For God has not given us a spirit of fear. God is never the origin or the source of fear. What God gives is power, love, and clear thinking, a sound mind. Those things come from God. So how do we fear less? I know it's November, and for some people it's no shave November. How about no fear November, all right? We're gonna talk about how we deal with fear. And if you missed last week was kind of a conversation based on the idea of, sometimes God calls you into a new and better future. And in that moment, you can be intimidated, have anxiety. How do you deal with that? So if you missed last week, please go to our website, churchbytheglades.com. You can see the teaching there. All those resources, by the way, are free. I just want you to have that. Or if you have someone in your life you love and they just wrestle with warrior anxiety, please, if you'll take them to that website, it'll help them so much. Have them watch that talk. But this is talk number 2, different kind of fear. I want to talk to you about a fear that I have. I'll be candid, be open, transparent. I have a fear of French fries. Now, I love French fries. I'm not afraid to eat French fries, but I try to avoid French fries because I attempt to eat a healthier diet overall, high on the proteins, stay away from the saturated fats, those empty carbs. But French fries, here's my fear is when I do have a cheat day and I want to enjoy a good French fry, I want to enjoy a good French fry, I want to make sure it's a good French fry. Right? If you eat a healthy diet and you break the diet, you want to make sure that thing that you're eating, that cheat meal, is really, really good. So like for me, I'm not going to really eat these French fries because these French fries are from last night. And for me, a French fry has a shelf life of about 2.5 minutes out of the fryer. I like my fries hot. And I will say this, some restaurants have better French fries than other restaurants. Here, let me turn the table here. I got 4 selections. I want you to see him here, right? And what I did was, I thought, we're this diverse church, have awesome campuses. Let's get over to the Dade County campuses. What's up, Dade CI? What's up, Homestead? Great to see you guys with us today. Thanks for being here. But I asked some of our other campus pastors, who has the best French fry in your area? And ironically, before I could ask the question, Pastor Eric Cunningham, who leads our Sample Road campus. Sample Road campus, give it up for Sample Road campus. On Instagram, before we talked, he posted his favorite French fry yesterday. Great minds think alike. And he said Checkers have the best French fries. And there was some pretty interesting French fry trash talking taking place on his feed. So that represents Sample Road as Checkers. Now here at this campus, Sawgrass. In fact, I just left the classic service. We have a classic service here at Sawgrass. So I thought I'd pick a classic French fry for Sawgrass. And whose French fry is more classic than McDonald's? McDonald's has a great French fry. Funny thing is though, if you ever find one that your kid dropped under the car seat 2 years later, they look the same. But they're awesome. And then I asked Pastor Larry Mayer, he's the pastor of our Lake Worth campus. Welcome, Lake Worth, good to see you. I don't know much about French fries in Palm Beach County, but he said there's a place called Dave's Last Resort, and they have amazing French fries. So we drove these in last night. These are from Dave's Last Resort French fries, representing that campus. And then finally, we got this cool downtown Fort Lauderdale campus. In fact, I'll be speaking there live at 5 o'clock today. If you've never been, man, come hang out with me. And I love it. It's a smaller campus. And it's everything that is Church by the Glades. Our energy, our passion, our worship, our intels, our music. And it's in this classic historic building. And the great thing is we do church at 5. So it's so nice outside right now. When church is done, you don't have to take your car. You can walk about a half block to Los Olas. And there's a dozen awesome restaurants. So it's a great way to do church, all right? So, and I asked Pastor Mike Critch, he's our campus pastor, he lives on the east side, who has the best French fry near that campus? And there's a place called Rock Burger. Rock Burger has very creative custom burgers, but they're French fries. So these are the truffle fries from Rock Burger. So today we have before us a great theological question. Who has the greatest French fries in South Florida? When I say 3 at all campuses, I want you to shout out maybe one of these 4 or something else. Who has the best French fry? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yes, awesome. And someone's thinking, what does this have to do with the sermon? Answer, almost nothing. like French fries. Let's talk about French fries for a moment. And I'm tired because I stayed up late watching a football game last night. So French fries. So I have a fear of eating a French fry that's not a good French fry. I want a good French fry. Fear comes in all different shapes and sizes. In fact, this is one weird thing I have found in my years of doing ministry that really solid Christian people, not all, but many, are afraid of. When I bring up this weird thing in church, I almost never talk about this thing, but I talk about this thing, people who love God, sincerely saved, awesome Christian people kind of wig out or freak out or get a little angry. In fact, when I put up, I put up one of the promises, because there's a bunch of promises about this subject in the Bible. When I put up one last week, every time I put a verse up like this, there's like in the room, there's this awkwardness. It's like it's a little uncomfortable. Like last week, I mentioned briefly, kind of hit and run, Malachi 3, verse 10, and it talks about something called the tithe. It talks about the tithe, and I want to put up the verse again. And again, so I front-loaded this, so you probably won't act all freaked out, but some of you guys will be freaked out by this verse. Here's what it says to do. It says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. Now, what is a tithe? Well, the actual word in the Hebrew is a tenth. A tenth. So bring the first 10% of whatever God gives to you, bring the first 10% to the temple storehouse. The clear modern-day equivalent would be the local church. So there may be food in my house. So ministry is resource, so we can take care of people who need help. And then it says, test me in this, says the Lord Almighty. So the spokesman here is God himself. So God's the one commanding us, number one, so you bring the tithe. You bring the tithe, you give the tithe, and then he makes a promise. And see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. Now, if you're watching on television, watching online, I have like maybe 15% of the people clapping, most to be polite. But I'm just kidding. But it's one of those things that a lot of people, oh my gosh, yeah, that whole tithing thing, that's something I feel kind of weird about. And the funny thing is, it's more than just hearing this one passage. It's kind of throughout the Bible. That as a person of faith, I bring 10% of whatever God gives to me back to God. That's called the tithe. But there's a bigger idea in the Bible. Guys, I'm going to jump one slide on you if it's okay. What it says, I like this in Luke chapter 6, verse 38. Here's another promise. It starts with a command, though. It's on the screen right now. When I say three, at all campuses, read the first word loudly. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Give. All right, so give. That's pretty clear. It's a command. Give. Not a suggestion, not asking, but here's an imperative. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, we poured into your lap. And the speaker here, by the way, is Jesus. So Jesus is teaching beyond the tithe, man. Just be radically generous. You give, and look how my Father is going to give to you. So Malachi says, you bring the tithe and watch the Heavenly Father, open up the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing. Let me define blessing. Blessing is the tangible and intangible favor of God. Meaning that sometimes it's material blessing, sometimes it's blessing so big you cannot put a price tag on it. In fact, those intangible blessings, in my opinion, are the best blessings. But here's the crazy thing. I meet a lot of really solid Christian people who obey God, who honor what God says in Scripture in huge areas of their life. I mean, people who are great worshipers, people who have very active prayer lives, people who know and study the Bible, people who get unselfish and volunteer their limited time and serve in the house of God, people who are phenomenal God obeyers in a lot of areas, but this one area, they pump the brakes. This one area makes them uncomfortable. This one area intimidates them. This one area makes them afraid. So I want to talk about the tithes today. And if you're here for the first time, I talk about this idea typically one weekend a year. Yeah, you picked that weekend. You're here for the first time. There's like less than a 2% chance you'd pick that weekend. But here's the good news. When you come back next weekend, it'll be a different topic. And the weekend after that, by the way, next weekend is going to be fun. Don't miss next weekend. Next weekend is going to be the bomb. But so I probably won't talk about this for a long time. And I don't talk about it much because I think some churches probably talk about it too much. Just my opinion, not trying to jam other churches, but some churches is always about money and giving and the offering and kind of everything God does is tied. You plant a financial seed, and God will do blah, blah, blah. And I think it's been abused. And maybe I'm afraid I probably should teach on it more. I probably don't teach on this idea. It exists throughout the Bible. And I always endeavor to teach you the Word of God holistically. I probably should teach about it more, and I don't teach about it enough to your detriment, because I'm afraid you'll lump me in with the weird people that just talk about that all the time. So that's my fear issue. But so many Christians who do other things so great just don't do this one. I can't do the tithe thing. I'm kind of wondering why that is. I wonder, maybe we think that this promise is obsolete, or there's a catch, or it's expired, or somehow these great promises like Malachi 3:10 don't apply to us, or they're not relevant, or maybe we think it's not going to really work. So I have a title for my talk today. I don't even normally give you my titles, but here's the title for the message today. Here's the title: Why Tithing Doesn't Work. Why tithing doesn't work. Some of you all have suspected tithing doesn't work. Let's just explore that idea, because I know a lot of Christians who do all these other amazing things the Bible teaches. When it comes to tithing, they're like, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's like it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So why? Why are some reasons why tithing doesn't work? Take a few notes if you will. Let me give you 6 or 7 quickly. We'll kind of hit these things quickly and move on. Why tithing doesn't work. Here's one. Maybe tithing doesn't work. Maybe promises like Malachi 3:10 or what Jesus said in Luke chapter 6. Maybe tithing doesn't work because God lied. Anybody uncomfortable with that behind me? Anybody like, thank you for not Instagram. Stop, don't Instagram that. Stop. That's not true to context. Stop that. Anybody like me to get rid of that? Get rid of that slide. Get rid of that giant slide. All right, get rid of that slide. That's terrible. Get rid of that slide. Yes, that's better. That's better, right? That was just, in fact, I intentionally let it just hang up there for like 15 seconds. Just to watch you squirm. Just, But when it comes to Malachi 3:10, a lot of us, we act like God didn't tell the truth on that one. And the crazy thing is, we believe God for way bigger things than other subjects. You believe God for heaven. You believe God, Christian, for forgiveness. All the sorry, rotten, selfish, embarrassing, shameful things I've ever done, I really believe that Jesus took care of all that on the cross. We believe in the miracles of the Bible, the message of Jesus. We believe Jesus throat punched death and came back from the dead. We believe that God will give us purpose, adopt us as his children. We believe that God is preparing a place called heaven for us, and we're going to spend forever there. We believe God for all these huge things, but we can't believe God when it comes to our money. It's almost like in this one area, I know, God, you tell the truth all the time, but this one area, maybe he didn't, or maybe he's wrong, or maybe God's confused, or maybe what God said was relevant back 2,000 years ago, but times have changed. And see, because no one's not doing Malachi 3:10 because you're confused by it. No one's going, I just don't understand the whole 10% thing. I'm kind of confused. It was the fine print in that verse. The fine print. It was the forms you fill out, right? The forms you fill. It was the TV like voiceover guy after a car commercial that talks really fast, explain all the like, oh wait, it's a ripoff, right? No one's confused by this. In fact, if you're confused, I propose a new translation of the Bible. See, there's a great translation called the Amplified version of the Bible. If you ever go to a verse you want to understand like more nuances, go on your phone to the Amplified version of the Bible, a new version, and it makes every verse like twice as long. Gives you all these different ideas and alternate translations and stuff in parentheses. Go to the Amplified version of the Bible. Or if you're like me and have attention issues, someone needs to invent the Simplified version of the Bible. Maybe I will do that. The NDHSV, the New David Hughes Simplified version of the Bible. And Malachi 3:10 in that translation, not the Amplified, but the Simplified, would simply be this: I tithe, God blesses. Done. That's not confusing. In fact, to be accurate, it would be I tithe and God blesses a lot. Because it says he will open up the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that I will not have room enough to contain it. So here's my question. So is God lying? I mean, you trust him for other things that are huge. Why the resistance in the one area? Why do we push back in the one area? Why do we kind of freak out when it comes to the whole money thing? See, I don't believe God ever lies. Post that, please. I don't believe God ever lies. It's impossible for God to lie. God is the ultimate truth teller. I believe in something called the inerrancy of the Bible. It means the Bible is truth without mixture of error. I believe, man, when God speaks, you can bank on everything God says. God doesn't even exaggerate. God doesn't embellish for effect. God is accurate with every word he utters. Whether you agree or don't agree, whether you believe it or disbelieve it, God speaks truth. But in this one area, we disbelieve God because I'm not quite sure why. And we shouldn't. Well, guess where the lies come from? Well, lies never come from God. So like fear, if the origin's not God, my guess is that fear and lies come from the enemy. In fact, Jesus said the enemy, the devil, he called him the father of all lies. It means lying is his native tongue. He speaks lying-ese. Lying is his first language. He has no second language. And he's been so effective lying to God's people in this one area. But it says in Ephesians chapter 6, that's your homework, Ephesians chapter 6. This is a great passage about something called the armor of God. That God's given us this invisible spiritual armor to fight the attacks of the devil. That's the purpose of it. And gives us this cool stuff like the helmet of our salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, our feet shod in the preparation of the gospel, of the sword of the Spirit, which is the Bible, the word of truth. And then it says we gird our loins. What does that even mean, gird our loins? Okay, newer translation says he gives us a belt. What is the belt? How do we gird our loins? Was it called the belt of prayer? No. The belt of holiness? No. It's called the belt of truth. Now, what's this whole belt or girding the loins? It's a part of the armor that protects like this region. Because you got some pretty important things in that part of your body, right? You got some parts of your body that are precious that you want to keep safe. Amen? What do you have in those two areas? You got your sex organs and your wallet. You got your junk and your cash. That's what you got. Want to protect those areas. And what's called is, listen, it's called the belt of truth. The belt of truth. And maybe it's in recognition the devil's been so successful in culture spinning lies about our sex lives and our money. Where a lot of us say yes to God on all these things about prayer and worship and even salvation and volunteering and all the forgiving and kindness. But God, stay away from my sex life. That's mine. Those what you said, it's out of date, man. It's not relevant anymore. Or God, hands off my money. And we're living like God has lied. And God never lies. In fact, if you miss everything else I say today, just hang on to the fact that the only way Malachi 3:10 doesn't work is if God has lied. God doesn't lie. Hey, really quickly, I'm going to give you some other, I'll let you chew on that for a moment. I'll give you some other ones, a little less intense. Won't be as offensive as that giant slide. How about this? How about maybe you never tried it? Maybe you never tried to tithe, or there's one reason tithing doesn't work. You never tried it. Maybe because you're not a Christian. Guess what? If you're not a Christian, you shouldn't tithe. Oh my gosh, if you're not a Christian, we don't want your money. If you're here and you're like a first-time guest, and by the way, ask the people around you. This is not something that we talk about very much. It's not heavy-handed at all. But if you're not a Christian, you're thinking, hey, that's it. God wants my money. No. God does not want your money. He's way more ambitious than that. He wants you. He wants all of you. He wants your heart. He wants the good. He wants the bad and the ugly. He wants you in a relationship. So he wants you. This is not about your money. And maybe you're a Christian and you've never heard about this. Maybe you're a newer Christian, and maybe because I don't talk about it very much, you're not aware of this. So you don't do it because you've never heard about it, but you're kind of hearing about it today. And by the way, as I share this, it's without condemnation or judgment. I'm trying to tell you the truth in love. So whether you do it or don't do it, that's kind of on you and God at this point. Right? This is not like a requirement. I'm going to check your giving statement. You can't hang out here. But when God speaks truth, it's always to your advantage. I wrote this down. Maybe you don't know how to give because we don't pass a plate. We don't pass a plate. Churches pass plates. Plates are fine. But I feel like for the new people, no matter how I try to excuse them, whenever the plate comes by, there's like that subtext of pressure, like, oh, I need to do something. I need to put like, what? And so here's how we give. There's offering boxes in the back of every room, every campus. Hey, guys in Dade County, I know you don't have any money to give right now, but someday when you're free, you should find a great local church, get super involved, plug yourself in, should serve and volunteer and worship. And when you get a job, you should tithe. And by the way most of our people now give is online. Online, great. Go to our website. You can give on our website. Or I love the new app, man. And I'm not a techie person at all. My kids will tell you I'm terrible in technology. But the app, it is so easy. I'm going to the app that the announcement folks had to download. And at the bottom, it says give. And if you hit that, push pay is right there. A lot of you guys, that's how you pay people right now is online. And so push pay, you put in the amount. You can set up a recurring gift. This is a tithe at Sawgrass Campus. And then you go to the next slide and just give your credit card information, your phone number, done. That's easy. That's easy. Look, y'all staring at me. No, by the way, no one's taking out their phone at all to do this. But that's an easy way to give. So now you know how to give. All right, I wrote this down. Maybe the tithe doesn't work because you didn't stick with it. I've gotten this several times over the years. Like, Pastor David, I tried the tithing thing and it didn't work. The tithe, it didn't work for me. I'm like, really? It didn't work? You understood the principle? Yeah, I gave God the first 10%, the way it teaches in the Bible, and I tried it, no blessing, no resourcing, it didn't work. I'm like, wow, really? That's crazy. How long did you tithe? 3 weeks. Now listen, God can bless individual actions, but God really blesses habits and disciplines. When you build a righteous routine into your life. And forget money, any area of life. Think about which is more blessable. If I pray up an occasional random prayer. Oh, God, I'm desperate. I got this exam. Help me out. Or if I have a daily time with God in prayer. If I have a quiet time. If I read my Bible once every great while. If I read my scripted Bible every single day, which is more blessable. If I go to church, Christmas and Easter. That's awesome. I love people that come Christmas and Easter. But if I immerse my life and my family in the church, if I'm neck deep in this, which is more blessable? The habit, the discipline. The same with money. The same with money. And again, God promises in multiple places to bless us. If God's not lying, he promises to bless us. Now, he doesn't say how, and he doesn't say when. And I think a lot of people quit. They give up just before the blessing of God arrives. And I want to be honest, we get those stories that somebody started tithing on Sunday, and on Monday the boss called her in and we landed that new client, and here's your promotion, here's your raise. Right? We've had those bunches of those stories, but also sometimes there's a story when someone begins to tithe and 2 weeks later they lose their job. Someone begins to tithe and all of a sudden there's a financial setback or the car breaks down. What's going on? The tithe is not working. Look, sometimes the tithe is tested. There's a great verse. Is there somebody right now about to give up in any worthy area of life? Not just financially, but you're about to give up on your marriage or give up on your academics. You're about to drop out because you've tried to pass chemistry 3 times and you can't get your degree without it and you're about to quit. Let me show you an amazing verse. Maybe God brought you here just to see this great verse. I love Galatians 6:9. Galatians 6:9 from the New Testament. It's on the screen at every single campus. It says, let us not grow weary while doing good. Ready? For in due season we shall reap. That's what we want, right? We want a harvest. We want that end result. We want that payoff or payday or reach and achieve that goal. In due season, shout the word season. 1, 2, 3. Season, we shall reap if we do not lose heart, if we don't quit. Now that's a great promise. It might be a little lost on us because there's no farmers in the room. Seasons were a big deal to the people of the Bible. They were agrarian. They were herdsmen and shepherds and farmers. They understood there's like a season that you sow, and there's going to be like a season later on that you're going to harvest. There's like seasons, the ground is fallow and it's fertile. We don't understand that because we don't farm. All right, football. If your football team is terrible, your coach will stand up behind that podium and say, well, this is a rebuilding season. It's a rebuilding season for our team. That is code for our team sucks right now, but we have a plan. We're working on the plan. Hang in there with us. We got this plan cooking, right? All right, so right now we're in a rebuilding season. I think sometimes the enemy comes up against the tithe. I actually think sometimes God will test the tithe. So you start tithing and God kind of holds off that blessing and says, okay, let's see what you're in this for. Oh, you're in this because you think it's a mathematical formula. I'm your cosmic credit card. I'm your heavenly slot machine. And you start tithing. Or are you in this because you love me and you're my child and you're trying to grow and you're trusting me even though you're a little afraid? Maybe God's testing it in due season, in due season. Life is about season. Right now it might be a season where it's tough. You hang in there. Don't you lose heart. Don't you quit. Don't you take a knee. Don't you stand down. Don't you dare give up. Do not quit. I love that verse. I love that verse. Hey, I wrote this down. Maybe the tithe doesn't work. The whole 10% thing doesn't work because you so screwed up the 90%. Maybe you so screwed up the 90%, you can't find 10%. And I love our church family. I love the dynamic of the people of Church by the Glades. But we have some of us, and we are just so dysfunctional in areas of our life. Like maybe it's you're so dysfunctional in the financial area of your life. And it's been going on so long that now you're comfortable being dysfunctional, which that is dysfunction. You kind of feel like this brokenness and this financial stress is just your norm. And I'd love to see you get uncomfortable enough to do something about it. You just think that's my life. My life is I'm gonna fight to pay my bills and pay my rent, or I have these 3 mortgages, and I got maxed out credit cards, and I owe Uncle Sam, and I got a student loan from 1984, and I just, you feel buried all the time. That's just it, man. It's my life. And see, the Bible actually doesn't just teach about giving God 10% or generosity. It teaches about how you manage 100% of it. The Bible has a wonderful economic ethic. It says so many great practical things about how we deal with money. And God's people don't know this. I mean, the Bible talks about things like how you live on a margin, how you build a budget, how you set aside and begin to build savings. The Bible talks about things as practical as how you deal with debt, so debt does not become a slave master for you and put you in bondage. Even things like diversification of investments, all found in the Bible. Now, to help you break it down and understand how you translate these principles into our modern day life, we offer at least twice a year something called Financial Peace University. It's one of the best things we do. And the people clapping are the people who've taken the time to go through it. It's a 9-week, I think it's a once-a-week study. And if you're a couple, you do it together so you're on the same page. And it just gives you the bricks and sticks of how you do these things, and you build towards financial freedom. Now, full disclosure, we charge you for this. We charge you $100. Why? Because good old Dave Ramsey right here, who's the spokesperson, who's the teacher, he charges the church $100. We're the only organization I'm aware of that doesn't put an upcharge on this. In fact, we'll watch your kids for you while you take this. I lose money if you take that. Why is that? Because I'm a terrible businessman. No, here's why. Well, that's probably true, but here's why. I want to see you get healthy. Shucks, I'm your pastor. I want to see you healthy in your habits and healthy in your spiritual life. I want to see you healthy, with your body habits. I want to see you healthy in your marriages. And I want to see you healthy financially. And we have had a couple thousand brave people go through this in the last few years and begin to rebuild, maybe brokenness. Now, not everybody's a disaster. Some people just want to get better at this. Managing what I have more effectively, more wisdom. Right? But the swings we're seeing financially, I asked Pastor Tom, who runs Financial Peace, and the next semester will start in January. So I said, how about the last group that went through? The last group that went through after the 9 weeks. I said, how do they come out ahead? Because we survey people. Again, you don't have to tell us your information. They will not get all up in your stuff. But the people that gave us the results, on average, every individual or every couple that went through, as far as paying off debt, paid off $3,500 plus of debt and accrued $3,200 in savings. So they spent $100 in 9 weeks to come out $6,700 ahead in 9 weeks. So I'm not the finance guy here, but if I'm gonna give you $100 and you're gonna give me back $6,700, I'm in. Right? I'm doing that. That's I got that figured out. In fact, just in the last year, our people have come out ahead $2 million who've taken this, $2 million. And by the way, it's not a 9-week course on how to give to the church. In fact, when Lisa and I watched the video, I was a little disappointed how little they talk about that. It's just trying to help you get healthy in this area that's so vital. So guess what? Don't just think, yeah, I probably need to. I'll talk to no. You guys need to make a decision today that yes, next semester, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. God's giving me the information to heal the brokenness in this area of my life. Why tithing doesn't work. All kinds of reasons why tithing doesn't work. In fact, my last one I wrote down says, why does tithing not work? It's because a lot of us, we fail to realize That it all belongs to God. It all belongs to, see, my mom's sitting here. Hey, Mom, give it to my mom's in the second row. There's my mom right here. Woo, Mom. And my mom and dad brought us up in the church. Huge favor they did for us, huge blessing in our life. And our parents taught us tithing. So like as a kid, if I got $10 from my mom and dad for something, they give it to me in 10 singles. And they said, now the first one goes to God. This is the tithe. And like as a kid, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. In fact, they were so good, and they said, now the next 5 you put in the bank. Got real quiet in here. And then you enjoy the 4. And so they taught me to save. They taught me to tithe. And so, man, I just kind of learned that. So if I had $100, man, the first $10 went to God. So I thought that tithe or that $1 or that $10 of the 100, that's God's. Rest is mine. See, Leviticus chapter 27, verse 30 says exactly that. It says, the tithe is holy unto the Lord. The tithe belongs to God, man. Don't mess with the tithe. That will mess you up. God says, that is mine in a big way. But here's what I was missing as a kid. It's not just the 10% that belongs to God. It's 100%. It all belongs to God. And God says this in many, many places. Look what it says in Psalm chapter 24, verse 1. I share this a lot because this writes our wrong perspective. Read this loudly. The earth is the Lord's and everything. Come on, louder. The earth is the Lord's and everything. God says it's all mine. Everything you possess right now. You're not the owner. You're a manager. Biblical word is you're a steward. I own it all. And think about it, that's really true. Because if it was really ours, we could take it when we died. But we can't. You never see a U-Haul behind a hearse, ever. When you die, you leave it all behind. And it's, in fact, even before you die, it's hard to keep in this life, right? Recessions, financial reversals, crooked business deals, right? It's hard to keep it in this life sometime. And it all belongs to God. And God says, to show me you understand that 100% belongs to me, you bring me the first 10%. Or you give over and above. That's the tithe and the offering. You do that, and that shows me. And if you do that faithfully, and you manage the rest well, I might give you more of my resources to manage. But it's mine. And how it must disappoint the Father's heart when we don't trust him or believe him or we're afraid of this and we don't do it. And every parent in the room knows how that feels. You know why? French fries. French fries. Because every parent's had this when your kids are like little. Like I think about, Charlie and Victoria both did this when they were small. I remember Zane doing it, but Charlie and Victoria both did this. I'd go to McDonald's and I'm in a hurry, so we buy a Happy Meal, or if they don't like the toy, you just buy like the cheeseburger plain and get a large French fry because McDonald's French fries are like really good French fries. And so you're sitting there with your kid at McDonald's and they're enjoying their Happy Meal and you look at those French fries and you say, hey, can I have a fry? What's that kid say? No, my French fry. No, my French fry. Are you flipping kidding me? Do you not, at that moment, I want to say to my child, do you not understand? I am the Father, and I am the singular source of your French fries. Your French fries come from the goodness of my hand. That's where your French fries come from. They don't understand that. Number 2, what you don't understand is I am bigger and stronger than you, and I can snatch those French fries from you if I wanted to. You have no French fries. I'm keeping all the French fries. Or listen. Or I could go back up to the counter with my debit card, talk to the nice young lady, and I could buy so many French fries, I could just shower you. I could just cascade so many French fries on you. I could just pour French fries over. Oh my goodness, I wear you out with French fries, man. But you won't give me a French fry. If you've been holding back from God, God's been asking you, you're not trusting God, guess what? I got something for you today. You need to turn that over to God today. You need to turn that over to God today. If you don't watch football, you're totally confused right now. You need to turn that over to God today. Because what he's asked for, it belongs to him already. It belongs to him. And then because he's so generous, look what he promises to do, man. He promises to bless you with a bunch of French fries. Malachi 3:10, I love Malachi 3:10 could just be 4 words long. Bring the whole tithe. Done. I'm God, it's mine, bring it. But look what it says, Malachi 3:10. If you bring it, God says this. Look at that part. I'll open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing. So here's where I'm going to land this thing. Question. Is that true? Or did God lie? Did God, give me the slide again. Did God lie? Which I love. Y'all aren't even sure what to do with that. You're like, oh, makes me, oh, I can't believe David's letting that linger up there. He's letting that linger up there. Listen, why do you let that linger in your heart? Why are you letting that linger in some part of your life that God has said, hey, child of mine, trust me. Don't be afraid. You think it's awkward and uncomfortable seeing that on the screen. God sees that in your life. What? You believe me for heaven. You believe me for salvation. You believe you believe I gave my son to die for you. You don't think I'll take care of you? You're afraid to take financial peace because you think I'm going to gyp you or rip you off or cheat you with what my word says to do about things? I'm not going to lie. Yeah, that should make you uncomfortable. Anytime you look in the mirror and you see someplace you are disbelieving the truth-telling God, because God never lies. God, get rid of that, please. God never lies. It's time for you to turn it over today or turn your life over to Jesus. Let me pray for you. I'll see you. Next week is going to be a blast. Don't miss next week. Father God, I'm praying just for this truth to resonate in someone's heart in such a way they won't just be moved, they'll be moved to action. That will change some things, man. We'll go to that app and set up a reoccurring gift and just trust God and begin to prepare ourselves to see the truth-telling God work in our life in powerful ways. So I'm praying for turnovers. I'm praying for powerful turnovers in the lives of individuals in Jesus' name.